they don't really get the real world.
They don't get you prepared for life.
They don't get the real world aspect of it.
Correct.
So we've tried to come in there and give them a little bit of that, and just kind of say, hey, this is what's about to hit you. And it's not just going out and drilling teeth. It's your student loan debt. It's your family. It's your travel. Your guys' lives are about to be over.
Exactly.
So
I didn't think I would ever do a fucking podcast. I didn't ever imagine doing that. It made me realize that my purpose is to help others reach the goals and reach their full capacity. And if I can impact somebody's life, that is bigger than money. That is bigger than anything else.
Welcome to Lifestream. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Plains, with my co-host, Jeremy Applegate. And today we got an amazing friend, a dear colleague of ours. His name is Brad Combs from Virtus Financial. He's a partner in that firm. We also know him as B. Diddy.
B. Diddy. We just renamed you.
B. Diddy.
B. Diddy.
I like it. That's not actually the first time that somebody said that. I've heard that. I've heard that a few times before.
We came up with it yesterday.
Yeah. Wait a minute. He changed his name to Love, didn't he?
Yeah, but we're going to go with B. Diddy.
We're going to go with B. Diddy.
I can roll with that.
All right.
I can roll with that.
How's it going, B. Diddy?
It's going great, man. Trying to catch up on sleep. Just had a newborn right about 2 weeks ago. So
that's awesome.
My wife and I are learning that whole process. This is our first, probably our only after the last 2 weeks. So.
Yeah. It's definitely something that you never forget about, right?
You never forget it. It's been awesome. It's been awesome so far.
But you've had a lot of support, right, from your family?
Yeah, her parents have been there since the baby was born. My parents have gotten in to see. So you can't do it without the support there. So
that's true.
Yeah.
So
we've been blessed.
I'm so excited to have you here. I've heard great things about you. I definitely want to talk to the listeners out there. I want you to share your wisdom with them, not only about leadership, but developing people in your teams, about visiting the dental schools, and what are the biggest challenges that you see now with dental students and this economical change and how things have changed in the world of dentistry?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's so much information out there right now, and there's lots of ways to go access information. So, dental school, these kids are so busy as it is, just going through dental school. And then they've got to go out and prepare for the real world. So when they graduate, dental school, they spend so much time on the actual science aspect in dental school. They don't really get the real world. They don't get you prepared for life. They don't get the real world aspect of it.
Correct.
So we've tried to come in there and give them a little bit of that, and just kind of say, hey, this is what's about to hit you. And it's not just going out and drilling teeth. It's your student loan debt. It's your family. It's your travel. Your guys' lives are about to be over.
Exactly.
So it's something that you've really got to go out there and start preparing yourself for. But there's just so much information out there. So these students trying to decipher this information, it's very challenging.
It's very challenging. We actually interviewed a doctor the other day. And I kind of find it funny because he's like, I want to take my time. I want to spend a couple months off. And I'm like, dude, this is real life now.
Yeah.
Those days are long gone. Now it's time to grind. I remember I got my Florida license on July 3rd, and July 6th I was already working.
Yep.
Nonstop. I had to go.
You're ready to go.
I'm ready to go. I mean, if you spend 2 or 3 months without using a handpiece, you might forget what you learned.
Yeah.
I know.
When we interviewed him, he's like, well, I haven't really done any procedure for about 3 months.
Right.
And we're like, okay. And then he's like, well, I really value work-life balance.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, I'm not trying to be mean, but it's like I live with my mom and dad, and he just doesn't understand what the real world is, and it's going to smack him hard in the face.
You've got $500,000 of student loan debt. You got to start working as soon as you can. As soon as the license comes in, get going with it. Yep.
Exactly. Yep. So one of the things, and that's why we formed, and that's been actually one of my biggest visions that I wanted to create. One of my missions in my life is that I wanted to help dental students and dentists that want to become entrepreneurs be able to build a business that is a lot easier built with understanding the financial implications that it costs to open up a practice. So it's great when Jeremy told me about you, that you have the same passion to help the students understand the importance of financial planning and getting themselves protected long term.
Yeah, absolutely. It's when they first come out, we started working with dentists probably about 12, 13 years ago. And back then, the timetable to going in wanting to open up a practice was more of like 8 to 10 years into their career. It wasn't really like it is now, or now it's these kids come out of school And it's really within the first 2 years, the majority of them want to go open practices.
And do you think that the DSO space has affected that a little bit, or do you think before it doesn't affect that at all? Those decisions.
I think a lot of it is the generation that's coming into the workforce now. I think this generation is a lot more entrepreneurial and wanting to kind of do everything themselves. I mean, we kind of see that. It's there's good and bad with this, but when we go into the schools, we see that you've got a lot of people that kind of want to go out and do their own thing. They want to kind of learn on their own. This isn't a bad thing. They kind of think they know it all already.
Yes.
So they feel like they can go do everything by themselves right away. Which is fine, but I think it's pushed them into that entrepreneurial spirit and standpoint and wanting to go into ownership because they feel like they can do it better than everybody who's gone and done it before them already.
Exactly.
Yep.
I feel like, have you seen, I just saw a graph that my friend sent from an ADA convention they were just at, and like states like Nevada, California, the rise of DSOs are just tremendous, and dentists 1 to 3 years are staying in the DSOs long term now.
Yep.
Which I feel like, do you feel that there's going to be more of a consolidation process in the dental space where less people are going to want to open up their own practice or their group practice, or merging with DSOs like an MB2 model?
Yeah, so it's definitely something we've been tracking for the last few years here, just seeing the private equity, the DSOs come in a lot more into that space and scooping up these practices. A lot of the partners we work with, we try to get them introduced to them as quickly as possible too, because a lot of these practices, they're not even getting on the market right now.
Yeah.
These DSOs, they're in private equity, they're coming and scooping up these practices before they even get on the market.
They're giving them these multiples, but what they don't know yet, and I'm sorry to cut you off, which you can elaborate more on that, which that's your expertise, is the fact that, they're doing these burnout periods and, they're making these promises of 10x, 8, 10, and everyone's like, oh my God. But by the time the earnouts are really done and the accomplishments and the metrics you need to hit in order to achieve that, is really not 8x or 10x anymore.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep. And I think I think this is a little bit of a phase. We'll kind of, this is why we're tracking it pretty closely, just to kind of see how it goes the next 2 or 3 years. I think there's still a large group of people out there that are getting ready to exit out of their practice that want to sell to somebody like yourself, or want to sell to somebody more private that can come in and really take care of their clients and kind of do what they've been doing for their patients and do what they've been doing for the last 5-10 years or so.
Yep, it's true. It's
so
true.
there's still people out there that value the patient, experience as opposed to the multiple.
Yep,
right?
Yep, absolutely. And not to say that, DSOs don't do it right.
Yeah.
But obviously if I grew up and I went to a dentist, I've been going to the same dentist since I was 12, I think. And the doctor lived right down the street from me, like 3 or 4 houses down, and I still go to her today because they've always provided just a great experience for me.
Course.
And it's more of a family type thing, but so there is some aspect.
And I love how you brought that up, because I feel like the dentists that want to survive or like very succeed in this marketplace, you need to have specialized services in your practice.
Yep, absolutely.
I think dental implants, full arches, ortho, Invisalign, Smile Correct, whatever the case might be, but you need to be specialized.
Yep.
I think the days of bread and butter dentistry those are the practices that the big private groups are going to swoop up, and especially those that have a very strong hygiene program.
Yeah. You've got to evolve. I think COVID showed us that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at all the industries that were impacted by COVID. If those industries didn't evolve, then they weren't gonna survive that.
Correct.
You can look at the real estate bust that happened several years back. It's kind of the same thing that drove a lot of realtors out of real estate. It kind of got all the part-time people out, and all the people that were serious were able to stay in it because they were able to evolve with it.
Exactly.
So I think that's important, especially in dentistry, for practice owners and entrepreneurs, is to continue to evolve with the changing times.
I love how you just said that. If you had to give the dental students out there that are just graduated or 1 to 2 years out, and you had to do a 10 or 20 year roadmap, how would you recommend, or how will those conversations look like?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it is educate yourself as early on, to develop those disciplines early on. Even as simple as something as far as paying off your student loan debt. Some of our clients, we basically had 2 ends of the spectrum. We had clients during this COVID time that continued to pay in their loans, even though everything was at 0 interest, just to start developing some discipline for it.
Yep.
And then we had clients that said, no, it's 0% interest. I'm not required to pay. I'm just gonna wait until payments kick back in.
Okay.
Okay. Well, guess now who's more prepared to start paying these loans down.
Yep.
Now the payments are kicking back in on September 1st.
And now they're trying to make arrangements to get it all squared away.
Yep. So now those ones that are behind versus those ones that were able to kind of take advantage of the 0% interest, pay a lot of their loans down.
That's smart.
Now they're in a lot better financial position going forward as well. So that's a huge thing for us that, you know, when we talk to these new grads and even our younger clients that are still in associate positions, is to say, look, get yourselves disciplined early on, you know, not only from a financial standpoint, but just in an overall life standpoint. Because the things you're doing now, you guys are like sponges now.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, you know, you're sponges. Everything you're doing now is going to develop habitually going forward for yourselves. Okay, so things like, you know, budgeting, you know, paying down your loans, working hard, you know, finding that work-life balance as well. You're going to develop these habits now, and if you develop now, they're going to stick with you your entire career.
So, like we were just talking about this earlier, like I was lucky enough that I had a group out of New York come to our school, and the first thing I did was get disability insurance, and I had to sell it to the rest of the residents, like, you want to get this. All it takes is like a neck injury, and all these years of sacrifice are gone.
Yep.
But you're telling me that it's still a challenge nowadays.
It's still a challenge, and it's crazy. So 1 out of every 4 dentists will get disabled before the end of their career.
Holy smokes.
So 25%. Now dentistry is a little bit more risky from a disability standpoint. So insurance companies are going to charge it a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, 1 out of every 4. So you've got a 25% chance of getting disabled. And a lot of people don't know this, but if you go on disability, even if you have a full disability policy, the most they're going to give you is 60% of your previous income.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so think about that. Even if you've done the very best in the best planning from a disability standpoint, you're still losing 40% of your income going forward.
Gone.
Okay, so those that don't get one, they're going from 100% to 0.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're an associate working for a practice owner, is that practice owner still going to pay you?
No.
If you're not seeing patients?
No, absolutely.
No,
not.
absolutely not. Okay, so it's
That's
extremely
very important, guys, to listen to this.
It's extremely important. You know, one of the other stats we give is it's interesting. So when we first bring on a client straight out of dental school, we don't charge them anything. You know, our services are complimentary for their first 18 months out of school.
That's great.
Most of them graduate in, you know, May, June, July, and we give them until the end of that following year before they actually have to start paying us. Okay, so they're getting 18 months completely complimentary for us. So think about this. Okay, so out of those, we probably bring in about 250 dental clients every single year straight out of school. So out of those 250, what percentage do you feel like will actually go and do an annual review with us that first year? The key, remember, is complimentary.
You would think it would be 100%.
You think it'd be 100%, right? So,
Yeah.
so what do you think that percentage is?
It's probably less than 10.
You have any ideas?
No.
So roughly probably 20%.
20% of those people
So 20%. So think about that.
looking for a renewal.
Just to jump on a call with us and say, hey, what's going on? What's new? How's the income at? How's the
Wow.
savings at? What can we look at possibly doing going forward?
So they just kind of let everything expire or whatever and just ride off into the sunset?
No, they're not. Nothing's expiring. They're just life gets in the way, and they're not putting time into their plan.
Of course.
You know,
Yeah, they're worried about this. They're not thinking big picture here.
they're not taking big picture.
They're not taking care of themselves.
Yep. It's the same thing when you go and buy a practice. Okay, you've got to work on the practice. You don't just go buy a practice and then just
let it
sit
ride
on
on
your hands.
itself.
Let's right.
Yep.
You've got to put work into it. You know, so it's the same thing there when you're doing financial planning. You've got to, even if it's just an hour or two a year, you've got to put a little bit of work into it to make it work for yourself.
It's so important. I love how you said that. Like, I was a big proponent, and we speak about it in the podcast, the importance of financial planning. It's huge. Not only should you get prepared, but once you start building a little bit of assets, creating a trust for you and your family. So God forbid something happens, they're protected.
Yep.
But no one does that anymore. And no one, like, I have a huge challenge with my friends. I think out of my 20 or 25 dental friends, I think 2 or 3 of them actually have a financial advisor.
Yeah. Yep.
So they're doing nothing with their money. The money's just sitting there in the bank, or they're blowing it on vacations, or, you know, cars and stuff that's not going to return any value to you.
Yeah, and financial advisors, you guys have access to more financial advisors. You got to think about it. Financial advisors make money when you make money.
Of course.
Okay,
Yep.
so we go after the people who are making money.
Exactly.
Okay, and this is just, I'm not talking about just us, I'm talking about our industry in general. But you know, that's how our industry works. That's why when most of our industry goes into these dental schools, well, nobody's making money yet. Okay, so they talk to them about disability insurance, and they talk to them about life insurance. They talk to them about these things that are going to drive money into their pockets very early on. Okay, so we see this across the country with a lot of our competition is everything's driven by money. Okay, so including our industry. But you guys have access to financial advisors because you guys make a lot of money, so it makes us a lot of money.
What do you think of the rates? And you might not know this, the percentages of doctors that go bankrupt. What do you think they are? Dentists
that go bankrupt from a personal standpoint or more from a practice standpoint? Practice standpoint. See, this is the thing. This is a number we've always been told by the bank. So, some of the major banks out there will tell you that approximately 99.5% of loans will be paid back to the bank. So it's almost impossible for a dental practice to fail. Yet there still are some that will fail. There are still some that will fail. Small. It's just a very small percentage.
What about personally?
Personally, you've got, again, if you're in this industry, you can get away with doing nothing. Okay, and that's I think that gives everybody some comfort.
Of course,
it gives the 75% that don't do their annual reviews with us some comfort. Okay, but you can get away with it. But it's you see the people who are actually investing time into this stuff, investing time into the practice. Those are the ones that are actually being successful with it.
Have you seen doctors retiring a lot younger now, or they're still doing 30 to 40 years in private practice?
that's kind of we're definitely seeing more and more of the ones we talk to. When we ask them about what's your ideal retirement age, it's now 50, 55.
Yeah. The doctor we interviewed said the same exact
Yes, he did. He wants to get into real estate.
But if you want to do that, you got to do a lot of financial planning. You got to understand how much percentage every single year you're going to put into investing. Money just doesn't grow on trees, so you got to have a realistic roadmap.
Yeah, absolutely. Exit strategy out of the business and everything like that. All these things that, you've got to develop a team of people around you.
Absolutely.
It's not just a financial advisor. It's not just, you got to go talk to a CPA. You got to go find a good attorney. You got to go find some different people that are going to actively work with you and build that team. You guys are, as a practice owner, you're just the quarterback of the team. You're the most important person on the team. But you've got to have a good offensive line. You got to have good receivers. You got to have a good defense.
You got to be Tom Brady.
You got to be Tom Brady.
We're not going to go there because it's a man crush.
So you've got to develop this team to be successful. I mean, look, you've got this guy over here. I would encourage any practice owner to go invest in a right-hand person to be able to come in and handle a lot from a business standpoint.
I had to go out of state to find Jeremy.
Absolutely. So, but no,
you're too nice.
No, it's a huge advantage to when you invest in that, what you're actually going to get out of it.
I love how you just said teams because I feel like a lot of the owners they think only about themselves and they're very selfish in their approach, and they don't realize that you need a team behind you in order to grow and take care of your patients.
Absolutely. I mean, I look at dentistry right now. And this is what we tell people. We have a lot of clients that they want to go into real estate and they want to buy properties and stuff like that, and they want to rent them out and Verbo and all this stuff. And I tell them, you got to remember your most valuable asset right now is your ability to go and drill teeth and be in the chair.
That's true.
That's the number one way you're going to go make money. So you've got to remember that, and you've got to leverage that. So if you're going to go and invest in properties, well, you've got to go hire a property manager as well to take care of that.
Exactly.
So it's kind of the same thing when you go in and open up a practice. Well, you should probably go and invest in somebody who's going to help you run your practice more from a business standpoint. Okay, because again, that's not where you're going to spend your time in the most valuable manner.
Exactly.
Okay, you've got to be in that chair, drilling the teeth, making the money.
Do you think the professors at the dental schools are proactive when you go in there and preach what you're saying, or they're basically stand back and don't really say anything?
So we get a lot of we don't get pushback from the administration side of these schools, but we also they're watching over us very closely. Okay, which I guess is a good thing in some aspects, just because I'm assuming you're going to have a lot of people that are just coming in there just strictly from a solicitation standpoint for these dental students. But I think the professors want to do what's best for these kids. I just don't think they really know exactly what that is at this point in time. Again, I always go back to the main reason they're going through dental school is to get the science background.
Exactly.
They're just not getting that opposite background, the life skills and everything like that need. Then there's just no time for it.
They don't teach any business at dental school.
We need to get these guys to allow us to review and edit and enhance the curriculum for dental schools, right? Because we would put a ton of business in there, and they're so about the science, but they're so about the clinical skill they don't even develop those good clinical skills until they've practiced, for several months. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter if they're doing 20 fillings during dental school. They're not going to develop that skill and be efficient at it until they actually are starting to do it on a regular basis.
Yep.
I agree.
It's crazy to me.
You saw that in COVID. You saw a lot of people in COVID. Those graduating classes in COVID, the 21s, 22s, they did not want to go straight into practice right away because they felt like they weren't actually prepared to go into practice. So a lot of them went into the GPRs and specialties and AGDs just to kind of continue that education perspective because they didn't feel like they were ready for it. But
exactly.
But I think that's we always challenge people that when they say they're going to go into the 1 years, we like, well, what are you going into the 1 years for? That's what practicing is for. You're not going to be perfect when you first start.
No, you're never. You're never going to be.
You're never going to be perfect.
Never.
So exactly,
it's always learning.
Yep, it's all. You always got to learn, but you've got to understand that. And a lot of people are scared to actually get out and take that first step into the practice. So they prolong a little bit, which is fine. And there's plenty of good 1 years and AGDs and GPRs out there where they're actually giving them some very good skills going forward, and it gives them a little bit more preparation as well.
I agree.
Yep.
Definitely. And then you always got to continue to do continuing education. That can just never stop. If you think you graduate and never do another C course again, or just the basic state requirements, you're never going to be successful in private practice.
Nope.
And I think that leads to self-development too, because we talk a lot about self-development, and I think that's what's also missing at the dental school level is, again, they're so focused on the science, but they don't share like John Maxwell or Ed Milet or anybody like that. Let's talk about those guys, and let's talk about people in the industry, and we talk about this too. I'm not trying to steal too much of his thunder here because he's really a proponent for this, but like, how are you going to lead people, if you don't even understand yourself? It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy. When we grew up, it was just you had to go read a book.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Right.
Now you got Audible.
Now we have podcasts.
Audibles, YouTube.
So there's so much. There's so
Streaming.
many different ways to go in and educate yourself out there. Like everybody has so much access to information.
It's so true.
But it's just a matter of being able to put some time into it.
Big time. So like for example, like when I graduated, I think I got in 2014, and then 2013 I graduated. 2014 I bought my first practice. I think Instagram was out, but I never put my emphasis into Instagram or branding myself. If I would have done that years ago, I imagine what I could have now.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you're a big proponent on that. Like, don't be just the face behind the business. You should be the face of the business.
Yep. Well, I've graduated back in 2003, and I stayed on and got my MBA for 2 years. And back then, that was a big deal, to stay in and go get your MBA, and it really helped. And employers loved that you had an MBA and everything. Now that doesn't matter because again, you have so much access to this information.
Exactly.
So, but again, if you're not going to go and actually do an MBA, you've got to go do your own MBA.
But the schooling system also creates that discipline that you need, and to make sure that you're committed.
Right. Exactly.
In the long term.
Yep.
So that's very important. What do you think about? I did some investing into real estate investment trusts versus regular real estate. What would you recommend a dental student or somebody that's already got some income to invest into?
Yeah, so I think the first thing, we always tell all of our clients this is you got to invest in yourself first.
Okay.
If you're looking at an overall budget, okay, we break that into 4 different quadrants. All right, you've got your taxes, which obviously we can't avoid.
Yes.
There's always going to be taxes. We've got what we would call your financial plan, okay, which includes everything you're doing financially, saving money, investing, paying off your loans, paying off other debt, real estate, things like that. Then we have your cost of living. Okay, and then we have your housing. All right, obviously we've got to live somewhere. Okay, so we're breaking that all up into 4 different quadrants, and we tell people, look, you want to ideally be putting 35% of your gross income into what we would consider your financial plan.
Okay.
Okay. The issue is when everybody thinks about those 4 quadrants, the financial planning quadrant a lot of times will come last.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
They'll look at housing, and they'll look at what I'm spending on cost of living, and then they'll say, okay, well, what do I have left over to apply towards my financial plan? All right. We try to get people to be in the mindset of pay yourself first, put that 35% away first. I don't care where it goes. I don't care if it goes into real estate. I don't care if it goes in your loans. I don't care if it goes in just a savings account. These high yield savings accounts are getting 4.5% right now. They're great. They're great options. Okay, but yet we still have people that have their money in a checking account. Okay.
Yeah.
So invest in yourself first, and then live off of what you have left over. Okay. Don't go buy the million and $2 million house if you can't afford a $2 million house, and it's not going to allow you to go and pay down those loans or invest towards your retirement.
Or put into your. I agree.
Okay.
So I always tell everyone like at least 15 to 25%. So you're saying 30 to 35%.
30 to 35% is more of the long-term goal you want to eventually get to over the course of your career. Correct.
Okay.
Now when you're first coming out of school,
Yeah.
if you're saving 15 to 20%, that's great.
That's
great.
great.
It's a great start.
Okay.
But I would tell people the very first thing to do is, well, I'd say one of two things. I'd say invest in your retirement. Okay. And then if practice ownership is in your future, start investing for a practice as soon as possible.
So if what do you believe de novo versus acquisition? What do you think are the wins and the falls with both options?
I think a lot of it just depends on the person, to be honest with you. And our partners and us have had a lot of conversations about this, and we have some that believe, startup's the best direction to go. We have some that believe that acquisition's the best way to go. I think it really depends on the person.
Yeah.
If you're somebody that wants to go in and make something truly your own, if you're going and buying an acquisition, it could possibly take you 3 to 5 years to actually make it your own.
Yep.
You've got a current patient base in there. You've got the equipment in there. You've got even the wall color in there.
Yes.
Okay. So you've got to go make some adjustments.
I love how you say the wall color, because the first practice that I ever bought in Vero Beach, the walls were literally that mountain green, Mountain Dew, that green color.
That's Jeremy's favorite color, by the way. So don't
green is
crush on it too hard.
It was green with like a papaya, like orangey, reddish looking. So, and it had this awesome artwork. And then, you're right. It took a while to, make it my own.
Yep, exactly.
And then when you do the de novos, the equipment's brand new. You do the designing, you do the layout, you plan it all, and it feels like it's more of yours.
Yeah. But on the flip side, you also have some people that go in and they just, for whatever reason, they just can't figure out what that vision is.
Yeah.
So they're almost better going into more of the acquisition to where they have something they can already have like a foundation for and whatnot, just to say, okay, this is how it works. And you see that a lot. I think a lot of people get in a good situation where they can go in and be an associate under a practice owner for a few years and then eventually buy that practice from that practice owner. And it kind of helps that transition as well. So I think there's really a few different directions you can go. I wouldn't say there's a best way for every single person, and just in general, I think it really depends on that specific person.
Well, we always talk to doctors, and they're always like, well, if I acquire a practice, it's immediate cash flow. Mm-hmm. And if I open up a de novo, it's going to take me 90 days to maybe put $1 in my pocket. You know what I mean? So we always have those conversations with those guys too.
It's short versus long-term thinking. Yeah. It's the exact same thing with financial planning. If you're trying to make a big return just immediately, it's typically not going to work out best for you. Yep. You've got to have that long-term vision and that long-term thinking.
It takes time.
And it's hard too, because everyone wants immediate gratification
all the way
and immediate success.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. If you're going to make a lot of money up front and think it's over, like that's not going to happen. And if you do get that big, cash, some guys make millions in crypto, right, overnight. Yep. But you don't know about building teams or products or services or leading people. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you can lose it in a second, and then what?
Absolutely. You've got to figure that out, and you got to go and create your own path for sure.
Correct.
Yep.
So what is the biggest tidbit or advice that you can give a dental student or somebody out of dental school or somebody that is almost at the point of retirement?
So I would say a couple different things. I think it's different for somebody straight out of dental school versus somebody that's going into retirement. Straight out of dental school is focus on what we would call opportunity cost. Okay. So what opportunity cost essentially is what if you have $1 to put in something. Okay, where's that $1 going to be best spent? All right, and you want to think about everything from a percentage standpoint or an interest rate standpoint. Okay, so we've got two sides of the seesaw here. All right, we've got the things that actually make us money. Okay, so we've got anything from a savings account, okay, up to a practice. Okay, well, you guys know this. Okay, practices can make you 30 to 40% from a return standpoint. The stock market makes you 7-8%. Savings accounts are paying 3 to 4% right now. Okay, and then you've got everything from a debt standpoint. Yep. All right, you've got your student loans, roughly 6, 7, 8%. You've got real estate. You've got your car loan. And the example we always use is, okay, if I'm going to give you $30,000 as a graduation present, okay, and let's just assume you need a new car, okay, what are you going to do with that $30,000? Or will the majority of the people say, "Oh, I'd go buy a new car"?
I will invest it.
I'd go buy a new car. Okay, and it's because it's simple. I go pay it off. My parents always told me never to finance a car. Always pay cash for a car. And so we think about that decision. What's a car loan costing you right now? You guys have any idea the interest rate?
It's like 9 or 12%.
It's higher, but normally car loans are going to be a little bit lower than most other loans.
Yes.
Okay, I've got my car right now that's sitting outside. I got for 0.75%.
Wow.
So less than 1%. Yeah. I bought it two years ago, back when interest rates were a little bit lower. But my high yield savings account was getting 1.5% at that point in time.
So you would rather have it there.
So why would I put money into a car loan that when it's only costing me 0.75%,
exactly,
when I'm getting 1.5% in a savings account?
I think some of this is too, and I just want to bring this up because it has to do with managing money the right way. They get that $30,000 gift for graduating. Well, some of them believe that's a down payment for a car.
Yep.
Yes.
You know, I'm going to buy $100,000 car.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so
and
true.
put 30 grand down, and hopefully I can make the payment.
Yeah, they're not buying the $30,000 car.
Because I'm a dentist now. I'm a doctor, so I got to go have a nice car. Yep.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
So true.
But no, so I think that's one of the things we try to educate these younger people on is knowing how to make smart financial decisions, even if you don't have somebody like us to support you. You know, just knowing how to make a good, smart financial decision. So everything comes down to that interest rate. So if I'm going and putting $30,000 on a loan of car, and the car is costing me 4%, well, my student loan debt is still growing at 7%.
Yep.
So why didn't I put that $30,000 towards my loan that's costing me 3% more than what the car loan is costing me?
Exactly. I love how you break it down.
Okay, and that's where practice ownership. We're so big on practice ownership because that practice is going to go make you 30 to 40%. That trumps everything from a financial planning standpoint. Okay, we can't make you 30 to 40% in the stock market.
I know.
We're going to make you 7-8%. So when a client comes to us and says, "Hey, I want to go buy a practice," within 2 years, everything else from a financial planning standpoint stops. And we're going to be like, okay, what's the best way we can go get you prepared to go buy that practice? That's going to be the biggest portion of your financial plan right now.
And I think that's why we're going to be great partners, and we are great partners, is because we are aligned in that, and we understand that, and we understand the vision of these guys. But again, it's a situation where they just don't know how to get there. And the more people that are aligned, helping them see that vision, helping them see their individual vision is important for their success.
It's extremely important.
Absolutely.
And I love how you say the 20 to 30% because I have friends of mine that are like, I would rather buy real estate, but I'm like, okay, you might make 4 to 6%. You can open up a dental practice. You have to be a licensed doctor to open up a dental practice, which you have the license. Mm-hmm. It's not like, your car mechanic can go open up a dental practice. So you have like already that in, so why not do it?
Yeah, exactly.
Where your returns are going to be so great, plus how much the appreciation of the business, and you can also depreciate the equipment and the construction costs.
Yep.
So that's why I got into owning several practices, even though it's madness. But you make anywhere from 18 to 22% of your money every single month.
Yep. That's what I was going to say. It is extra work, obviously. It's a different lifestyle.
Yes.
Okay, but a lot of people fit great into that. Okay, and then some people don't.
Yep,
okay, and if you don't, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with going and being an associate your entire career, or even working part-time at some point in time and being a dad or being a mom as well. There's nothing wrong with that. But for those that aspire to actually go out and be, I think, as successful as they really want to be in this career, I think practice ownership is a no-brainer if that works for you.
Exactly.
Speaking of aspiration and inspiration, we have an event coming up in September, don't we?
We do, absolutely. Yep, we've got our Virtus Elite Partner Symposium.
Beautiful. I'm excited to be there.
Dr. Plains is going to be speaking there. Jeremy's going to be attending as well. It's September 15th through 17th. It's here in Orlando. It's at the Grand Cypress right outside Disney. So if you guys have kids, it's a great hotel, great resort right outside the park, so you can get in the parks pretty easily. But yeah, we've got a host of people coming in. We've got a really close CPA that we work with. We've got some student loan debt people coming in to talk. We've got an attorney coming in. We've got some banks coming in. We've got some real estate people coming in.
Beautiful.
It's the gamut of everybody you need on your team from a practice ownership standpoint. And it's designed specifically for practice ownership as well. Okay, not only for the current practice owners out there, but also for people aspiring to be practice owners. we're actually doing breakout sessions Saturday afternoon. Where we're dividing those into those two groups right now, with the practice owners and then the aspiring practice owners.
Yeah, I mean, we're excited, and I know that you got some traction built already for it. And we're getting ready to launch it out into to everybody that we know as well. What can people expect? I mean, what do they walk away from that event?
Yeah, our hope is to just educate.
Okay.
That's whatever. You're not, again, this isn't a conference you come to and you get sold on something,
Yeah.
or it's a drastic life-changing experience or something like that. Some of these conferences are kind of built off of, but you're going to come and you're going to get educated. And you're also going to get introduced to a lot of people that you might not have on your team already.
Exactly.
Okay, and you're going to get introduced to practice owners like Dr. Plains, who actually know and have built some success already.
Yep.
I think, which is very important. Okay, so but yeah, we've got a Friday night reception that's kind of built more around just kind of entertaining, getting some introductions. Saturday's all day education. We've got a pretty cool casino night. We're doing it at a brewery Saturday night. And we've got another general session on Sunday with some additional speakers as well. So it's lined up to be a great event. You get some continuing education credits as well. You can get up to 4 continuing education credits just for attending the event. So it's
you guys got to come check it out.
Great event to be at. Yep.
It's going to be a great networking event. Thank you so much, Brad, for coming. B Diddy, go check him out in sunny Orlando, Florida. Thank you so much.
Absolutely,
it's been a pleasure.
Been great to be here. Thank you, guys.